My couch ends up like sucking you in.
Yeah. I keep getting lost in the bag. I love it. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Elisa, and today we have one of my very best friends, Mackenzie. And she's going to tell us the story of how she went from being a Pasadena princess to being a sailor in Maine. Cheers to that.
Cheers. Our afternoon coffee.
6 p.m. Let's go.
6 p.m. Let's go.
Here's the thing. We just took a lot of espresso shots.
Yes.
So we're feeling a little like buzz and tingly and
We're ready. We're ready to chat.
Yeah. We're just talking a million miles an hour. But basically, the reason why I'm having Mackenzie on is because I think she's one of my coolest friends. And this podcast is about like duality and learning to be more than one thing and taking big swings. And Mackenzie is like a Pasadena princess. So if you don't really know what that means, like people in Pasadena, I don't know. How would you describe them?
So it is like, I feel like it's very exclusive to people in Pasadena because when I've lived other places, nobody knows what the Rose Parade is. But in Pasadena, like I literally live like 200 feet up from Colorado where the parade is.
Yeah.
So it's a really big deal in the community, but it's just a parade.
She's talking about the Rose Parade.
It's the
in
New
Pasadena.
Year's Day parade. So
yeah.
you got the Rose Bowl game, and it's all kind of a part of the same thing. And so basically, you just have to like go to this place called Wrigley Mansion, which is not far from here, and you like interview. But if you interview, you get royal ball tickets. So you get like it's just like the easiest way to get a free dance with like all your friends that isn't at your high school. So I auditioned when I was a senior in high school, and then I didn't get in, and I was like, okay, whatever. I got to go to the dance, and then I did it the next year because I went to PCC, which is Pasadena City College.
Okay.
And I was dating somebody who was at my high school, so I was like, I'll just get more tickets and we'll go with all of our friends again. And so I went and I auditioned, and then I got in.
Is this like a pageant thing?
It's like I think it's like viewed more like, it's not as pageant-y because it's not as much about like your outward appearance. It's more like you're an ambassador for the district. So there's 7 girls selected from different high schools in the Pasadena community.
Okay.
So like I was from Temple City, another girl was from like Mayfield, another girl went to school in like La Crescenta. So it's like we're all from different schools, and we just kind of represent like the youth. And so it was a lot more about like our interview questions. And because like the second time I went in, I like really didn't give a shit because I was like, I just want these tickets.
Yeah. I just want to go to the dance with my friends.
Like,
I really need to grind somewhere.
I was just like relaxed, and they like picked me.
Yeah.
And I just mostly gave like unserious answers. But I'm like, I was raised doing musical theater, so like I knew how to public speak. I knew how to be comfortable like in a interview setting. So it was fun and it was easy. And then when I got selected, I was just kind of like, okay,
what do I
like,
do now?
What the hell? Like this is random. And then it was really cool because I got like, we took etiquette classes, we took like speech classes, PR classes. We got like a whole new wardrobe and like.
Oh wow, they sponsored all of this?
Oh, it's completely free.
So when you're a Pasadena princess, what is your job? What's the actual title?
Like, so it's a Rose Court princess.
Rose Court princess. So for the Rose Bowl
for the
ceremony?
Rose Parade.
Okay.
And then through that you go to the Rose Bowl game and you're like the ambassador for that year.
Gotcha. So you like represent the town.
Yeah. I mean, because honestly, but we just kind of like went around to a lot of like clubs and people that like sponsor the Rose Parade. We gave speeches about like the reason I love Pasadena and like it's like I grew up here and this is what I want to be when I grow up and like. And that was made possible because I could do this, and like now I'm living my dream. And it was like it's
okay, yeah.
Like campy. So in that way, it's kind of pageanty. I was the comedic hire for sure. Like I'm standing next to them, like
yeah. But you got the personality, and they always see the personality.
Personality hire for sure. And then you like get to ride the float on the parade day, and like you would do like a little wave, and it's like Princess Diaries.
Like, hello.
And it was our little rhyme was elbow, elbow, wrist, wrist, touch your pearls, blow a kiss. See, you're a princess.
I love that. Let's try it again. Elbow, elbow, wrist, wrist, touch your
pearls, blow a kiss.
I can never. But see, this is what I'm talking about, literal princess. So, like, what about the etiquette classes? Like, what did you? Because that's like a very southern thing too. Like
the etiquette classes, I felt so bad for this poor lady. Her name was Miss You, and she was very proper, and her hair looked perfect. She would always wear like super high heels and like beautiful dresses, and she was like teaching us etiquette. I was the only left-handed princess, which has been.
So you're doing the opposite way?
No,
okay.
I mean, like for most things, like in sports and stuff, or like when I cut my steak, it's like I do it like a right-handed person because I've been surrounded by them, so I'm kind of ambidextrous.
Yeah.
But like for a lot of things, I was like, you know, like I'm left-handed, so can I do it this way? And she was like, you need to train yourself. And I was like, so after I did it for like the training, and like it was all posture, but I am me. So like I would go to these dinners and I'd be like, so they like told us that we need to like eat a certain way and I need to like take little bites of the bread, but like I'm really hungry, guys, so do you mind? And like all these old people around me, they're like, live your life. Like,
yeah, we don't give a shit.
For sure. And so I always like, my table was always like having the best time because it's like these really like kind of like hoity-toity environments in the best way possible. Very kind people. But like I just got them to kind of like
but you always spice up things. You know what I mean? You're always just like very authentic.
I'm not gonna pretend that I live my life like this because I don't.
Yeah.
Like, so then I went into hosting, and that was like I got to apply like a lot of the things that I learned into. So a lot of like what I learned from the Rose Court, I took with me in a lot of like professional settings, and
you just knew how to talk to people, how to treat them, how to have like basic manners.
Especially like being a young girl talking to older people, like there's a certain way that they like to be talked to, and you were trained on that. Like I know how to talk to them.
Okay, give us a tip. Like what's something that you think most young people probably don't know?
It's kind of like talking to anyone, but like especially people who have lived a lot more life than you, they love to talk about their life. So if you're just like interested and you like hear their story and you like remember little things and circle back to it, like it means so much, because I think like as you get older, you're afraid that like all of your experiences and like your life will just like not have
it'll be washed away.
Yeah. So I think it's like a good tip for anyone. Everyone likes to talk about themselves. I mean,
yeah. No, I feel like people find you interesting if you're interested in them.
I also feel like, girl, you gas me up so much. I'm like, I don't need this. My ego doesn't need this. Don't listen to her. It's okay. You're not that cool. Like, you're not her coolest friend.
No, but no, for sure. For sure she is, literally. Okay, so I'm going to set the scene. I was 24, living in LA. I just quit my corporate job, and I got a job at a restaurant, right? Literally, my friend was like, I was like crying in class. I don't have any employment. Like, I just quit my corporate job, which was the ABC Family, so I could which is crazy. So I could do like auditions during the day. So I'm like become a host at this like high class, luxurious, douchey restaurant in the middle of Hollywood. Like if you can think of any celeb, we've seen them.
Yeah.
So anyway, Mackenzie comes in, and for some reason, like watching Mackenzie interview, because I was there the day she interviewed, I was like, I know she's gonna work here. I literally saw you come in and interview, but I was like, I know she's gonna work here. And then later we, got stuck at the host stand together.
Which is such a tight-knit group of people.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
You get real close with the people behind it.
Yeah.
Or you get, like, really bad enemies. Mm-hmm, like, there was me and one girl did not.
And if you don't know anything about restaurants, basically, like, if you're front of the house, meaning that, like, guests can see you, it's, like, fucking wild.
Dude, I just said this to you. I wish that there is a reality TV show about restaurants, but I want like an actual like real life like dramatization, because you walk into the restaurant and you like immediately get the juicy goss.
Uh-huh.
Like, it is on.
Yes, and you
like,
know so much about celebs
so
because you're
much.
working in
Oh
these
my
like
God.
high class restaurants. And
I still know who's a bad tipper, like
Mhm.
who was rude.
We clock that stuff.
Absolutely. I don't forget. I know who you are.
We never forget. And here's the thing: it's like at the time we were like starting our like service industry jobs as hosts, and hosts are like in this restaurant particularly, we had to wear a minimum of 3-inch heels. Yes. It was a requirement.
We had to be slutty.
We had to be slutty and hot.
So slightly.
I would say like it's a pretty gritty life because you're working like long fucking hours.
You're there till like we would get out at like 12:30.
Yeah, sometimes like later than that. Like especially once I became a busser. And
true.
You would work, you know, the last people would leave at 12. So
well, that was the other thing, like going from hostess to manager.
Yeah, so Mackenzie basically just like climbed the ladders and like I don't fucking know.
Fast. I was like
a year?
22 years old, did not know what I was doing. It was within like 8 months of me working there, I was a manager.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
And I knew nothing about restaurants, but I had a great mentor and my friend. And she was just like, look, I think I can teach you this. And
but did you want to do that? Or did she reach out to you and say, hey, I think this would be good for you?
Once I was a lead hostess, I met with the management a lot more and like discussed strategies. And I was really good at figuring out the problems. So I remember we were at like a Christmas party and we had kind of become friends. So we were just talking about it casually one night. And she was like, I want to make you supervisor. Like, this is how it's going to go. And then she taught me everything. And I was green. Like, she had so much patience with me because I was like, I was good. Like, I was really good with people. I was really good with everyone on the staff for the most part. I hadn't really like had a college education.
Yeah.
Because I was on the Rose Court during college, and then I went to musical theater school. So that doesn't teach you anything, unfortunately.
Wait, did you go to college for
life skills?
No, but really, I feel like it did because you learned all those etiquette stuff.
It taught me how to be like charismatic.
Like, I think in restaurant, I just didn't give enough of a shit to be like, I'm not gonna give power away. Because it's not worth my tears. Yeah. I'm like, I don't fucking know. Let me get Mackenzie.
It was fun though. That was a really fun job. And then COVID happened.
So how old were you when COVID happened?
24?
Okay.
No, 23.
Yeah, I mean that's really young.
So I left the Rose Court, went to musical theater school, went to Katsuya, became a manager, and then COVID hits. COVID was a very good thing for me actually because it kind of took me out of a lot of these toxic, I mean, I really like the way that I live my life. I don't regret any of the steps I made. Like, it probably would have been better if I went to college, but I don't regret that I gained experience instead.
Yeah.
I tied a lot of identity to whatever I was doing. So when COVID happened, I by some miracle happened to move out of my apartment a month before COVID hit.
Oh, wow.
So I got out of my lease and I was living with my parents. COVID hits, and then I just kind of had to figure out like who I was. And I think when you're 24, like 23 through 25, you're kind of figuring your shit out. Because 22, you're like young
and hot,
and
fearless,
and it's like you have all the privileges of an adult, but none of the real responsibilities because you're still a child. You're a child, and I'm sorry, but it's like, so it's kind of the best, but kind of the worst. Like, I'm 24, and I'm like trying to figure out like relationships. I'm trying to figure out friendships, and like I'm in my childhood home. So I was really in a very safe setting. Honestly, a lot of it was I would just spend time with my family. Yeah. Like we would do TikTok was brand new. So we were making like the whipped coffee. We were doing like little workouts. And
tell us about your family, because you and your family are like super close.
Super close. We, my parents, I'm number 5 of 6, and I'm the youngest girl. And my sister at the time, her husband, and her daughter, and now she has 2 daughters, they lived behind my parents in the back house.
Okay, cool.
And then the sister right above me and my younger brother also moved back to my parents' house. So we had like most of my family living at home.
Yeah, so, almost like a little mini compound is what I envisioned. Yeah.
And it's not like the biggest house in the world. Like, we were all kind of sleeping wherever it could work.
Yeah.
But it felt like you were kids again, but like adults.
Yeah.
So we would do like spa nights, like face masks, and like I remember showing, like, having a night where we just showed my parents, like, all of Harry Styles' music videos, because these are the important things.
Yeah. You're like, watch this. This is iconic.
Like, you need to learn. And so, but then it's like COVID just kept kind of going. And I got to a point where I was like, I need a change of scene. Like, I need to change my life, and it's not going to be here.
Yeah.
And I'm like born and raised Pasadena. But if you live in LA, like, LA is your world. Like, because you have so many things at your disposal. So,
great food, great shopping.
Hiking, beach,
snowboarding.
Desert, snowboarding. Like, literally anything. You don't need to go anywhere else. So then I was hanging out with Reagan and another friend of ours, and I was telling them this. I was like, I just need something different. And my friend goes, oh, well, my cousin, he's like a captain in Maine. And she was like, I think they do like crab tours or something, or I'm not really sure, but he does like boat tours, and he's the captain. So you should reach out to him. So I was like, bet, like, I will.
Maine,
like,
across the country.
I have nothing else planned because I didn't really have anything else planned.
Yeah.
I just knew I wanted to go out and be away by myself.
Yeah.
But it was just like, I didn't know what was the next step.
And you didn't know who you were.
No.
Because you're like, I don't know.
Again, I was like getting out of a rough relationship, so I changed my phone number. I like blocked a couple of people.
Yeah.
And then I moved. Like, I literally started with a clean slate.
From when they said you should hit up my cousin to when you got the job, like, how fast was that?
It was, well, so I emailed the guy, and I was like, hey, like, I know nothing about boats. I'm a really hard worker, and I pick things up really fast. Like, I'd really love to work, and, like, you know, I'm willing to accept, like, just room and board. Like, if anything, like, I'm chilling. And he didn't respond. A couple days went by, and I sent him another email. I was like, hey, like, not sure if you saw my first email, but, like, again, like, you won't regret hiring me. Like, I will make sure of it. I don't know what, you know, this job entails, but I'd love to hear more about it, and I'd love to do a phone interview so you can get to know me.
Okay, so you don't know. You know it's in Maine, but you don't know, like, what you would be doing. You've never seen a picture of the boat. You're just like, fuck it, whatever it is, I'm willing to do it. Okay, cool.
Because it was just like, it was too random for me not to, and I had nothing to lose.
And also, I remember you coming over to my house and saying something like, yeah, I also saw a magazine and it had Maine in it. Like, you kept seeing these little, like, nuggets.
Oh my God, it was so weird. It was like, and I believe that, like, when things are right, a path will be made. And I had somebody mention, like, who I was talking to, just saying, like, oh, I need to move. They were like, have you ever thought of Maine? And I was like, I've literally never thought of Maine. I forget that it's a state. Like, I don't think about this place. And I was like, where even is it? And it's like all the way on the other side of the coast. I was like, okay, like, cool. And then my friend was like, my cousin works there. So, and yeah, So
it was like nuggets of Maine just everywhere.
And so I was like, I've got to try this. I've got to do it.
It's a sign.
So finally the guy got back to me, and he's on the phone with me, and he's like, this is not a glamorous life. Like, this is like, sometimes you're like elbow deep in shit, and like, it's really hard work, and like, your arms are gonna grow because you're gonna be so buff, and like, and because all he sees and knows about me, because his cousin was like, sent him my Instagram. He sees like this little Instagram LA girly, and I'm like in bathing suits and like in heels and like hoeing it up on Instagram.
Yeah, literally a Pasadena princess.
No,
he's like, I don't think you're ready for the pirate life.
Of me like on the float with a tiara, like it's rough. And so he was just like, you're not gonna like this. And I was like, just give me a chance.
Yeah.
Like, give me a chance.
So he just said, okay.
He said, okay, be in Maine, fly into this airport on this day.
And what'd your family say?
Oh, they were so supportive.
Okay.
They were, I mean, it was kind of hard because it was right before my birthday. So I ended up having like a little birthday party. It was sailor themed, of course.
Yeah.
We're a musical theater family. We all dressed up. But it very much felt like this was the first step into something that was outside of them. Because again, it was like I was tying my identity to my family. A lot of my identity was tied to my family. And I was going off and being independent.
You were literally leaving behind your family to go to the other coast.
Again, it's like, and I don't have friends to lean on. Because I changed my number.
They don't know anything about Maine. They don't know anything about being a sailor. Like
they know nothing. And my family is very like city people, so they don't. I didn't know how to use a hammer. I had never climbed a ladder. I don't know how to do shit. Like but we're really friendly.
Yeah.
We're really good at talking. So I go to Maine. And I like bought a bunch of shit from REI, like no idea. I was looking up like, what do you need if you're a sailor? And like
watching YouTube videos, how to become a sailor.
What kind of knots do I need to know first time?
Are restaurant non-slip shoes appropriate?
No, literally. I was like, and also I had so many like clothes and things, and I could bring like one suitcase.
One check bag.
To
that was
live
it.
out of for 6 months.
Wow.
And potentially more.
Okay.
So I got there in April. The first day I see the boat because it was pulled out into the yard and they were doing like the winter restorations on it. And I see this boat and it's huge and it was a schooner. And a schooner is like a double-masted ship, and ours was like, I think it was like 86 feet long. And it holds like 54 people. This boat is literally up in the air, like on stilts. And he's like, we'll go up and see the boat. And I
So wait, did he pick you up from the airport?
He picked me up from the airport and we go to see the boat.
Are you taking the red eye to Maine? Because I feel like that's the only way I've been.
I wasn't a red eye, but it was late.
Okay, were you scared on the plane?
Oh, no.
Oh, you were just excited.
Oh, I don't know. I'm never really like nervous. It's kind of like it's like I never have a bad trip.
Okay.
Honestly, because in my mind I'm like, you chose this for yourself. You want to do this, so just do it.
Yeah.
Like let it be as good as it can. It might be scary. It might be bad, but this will end.
I love that for you.
And so it's like I didn't have a bad trip to Maine either. Like I was like, we'll figure it out. So we get there and I have to climb up this 40-foot ladder to get to the top of the boat. And I'm on that ladder and I'm shaking. I'm like, oh my God, because I've never climbed a ladder. And it's not like.
Is it like windy or like?
It's just up in the air. So it's like it shakes but all these guys, this is their life. And again, anywhere outside of LA, like knows this and knows how to like hang a picture and hang in like, just do basic shit. And I did not. But I got there, and then the second day, I like put on my little work clothes and my little I had to go get boots because I didn't have any work boots. So I'm like in the thrift store trying to find something.
Was he nice, your boss, when he met you?
He was very nice, and he was very just kind of like, why are you here? And he just.
Were you the only girl on the working this boat?
Absolutely. There was another girl, and she had been doing schooners. They call them schooner bums.
Okay.
So she had been a schooner bum for a while. And
does that just mean like you hop boat to boat?
Yeah, you just like you do different seasons with different ships with different captains, and she was so sweet. We actually ended up living on the boat in a different boat in the shipyard. Okay. So we would like walk across the shipyard and stay in this boat, and she like taught me a lot. Okay. I very quickly realized that in Maine, we would like work on the boat. I was like using a sander, and it was like crazy because
the boat's not actually in the water yet. So you're going there to prep the boat.
So we sanded it, we painted it, we like varnished it. So I learned so much.
So you're just like going literally from elbow, wrist to like literally like sanding down wood. Okay.
So it was like,
I mean, that is so crazy.
It was very crazy because it was just
You're just like sweating in the sun. Is it hot?
Oh my God. Little old me. I was so concerned because I would be in the sun like working, and then I was like, my tan lines. My fucking tan lines look so bad right now. And again, like nobody cares over there. They all have like farmer's tans. They're all dirty all the time. And it's like, it's not because they don't care. It's because there's other things that are more important. So Maine was so good for me to like break down my vanity. Yeah. And I really like just let go of a lot of the things that I thought defined someone. Like if they don't look good, if they don't smell good, if they don't like they don't say the right thing all the time. It's like they're not cool. But it was like really, I got a reality check and just realized that like none of that shit matters.
Yeah.
Like it was more about like what did you get done at the end of the day. There was so much crazy stuff that happened at that shipyard.
It's very like blue collar, right?
Very blue collar.
Okay, so like tell me about working with men, because like my mom, like my whole family is like truck drivers, and so whenever my mom has to go into an office, she's like, I always wear perfume because it just reminds the men that I am not a man. You know what I mean? And that I am a woman.
And, well,
so
that
like,
is true because like, but in this case, it was better. Not that it wasn't good that I was a girl, but I couldn't be girly because the men aren't.
How many men are you working with?
When we were in the yard, it was probably about like six to eight.
Did you feel like included as soon as you got there, or
no? Because again, they all were just kind of like, what is this bitch doing here? Like she doesn't know how to do anything. But then they would show me, and they were all very kind and patient, and they would show me, and then I would do it and keep going. But it was hard work. It was so hard. We'd
like your back hurts, like stuff like that.
So many muscles that I had never used before, and so then we would go sleep in like these really uncomfortable bunks.
But where would you sleep at?
In a boat on the harbor, that was in the water in the shipyard.
And like how separate are the like? Is everybody sleeping in the same open space?
Everyone's kind of. It was a big enough boat that we kind of had our own space, but there's no doors to your bedroom.
Oh wow! Did you ever feel unsafe?
I did. There was a point. There was another guy on the boat he was older and he didn't really work on the boats, but he lived at the shipyard, and he would like drink a huge thing of gin, and he would always come. We would come back, and he was just like gone. And there was one night he stumbled back to my room when I'm in bed.
Oh God!
And he was just like talking to me about something, and he was like, he was drunk, and it was very inappropriate. And I slept with my knife that night.
Wow!
Because I was just like, it's very easy to forget that you're at a place that you don't know anyone, no one knows you. You're
surrounded by men,
and you're out of your element.
And
you're
who do you trust?
By men. I'm this cute little LA girl, and like it was a little daunting.
Yeah.
But so I spent most of my time like really trying to actually like keep up with the guys, and I did. Like for the most part, I mean, I was lifting really heavy shit. Like at one point we were painting the boat with this toxic paint, and we had a couple of bosses, and one of the bosses was just total sketch. And he was just like he didn't play by the rules. And then our other boss, who I still talk to this day, shout out Rod, love him, Alabama.
Oh, cool,
yes.
Fun.
Roll Tide. He was very kind, and he was kind of like the guy that I went to after I knew him. But we were painting the boat, and I slipped off a log because it's all gravel. And there was like a bunch of debris in the shipyard. So I'm standing on one to paint up high. We were painting the bottom of the boat with this toxic paint that keeps like barnacles from forming, and like I don't know, whatever
sea
happened.
Animals, yeah, something in there.
Things. And I slipped off this log, and I fell, and my bucket of paint splashed up on my eyes.
No!
In my eyes.
Oh my God!
And my captain came over, and he like rushed me over to the bathroom. They're like washing my eyes out, and he told me later, he was like, I thought you were going to be blind. He was like, I've never seen that bad of an accident because it was in your eyes.
Oh my God.
And my eyes were like swollen. And basically this boss pulled me aside, and he's like, so I could take you to the emergency room, and they're going to tell you what I'm going to tell you, which is just, wash your eyes out.
Don't wear contacts.
Yeah, literally. So like, don't wear makeup. And I was just like,
you're like so not proper behavior.
Might be blind. And I was like I was documenting it. I was like, it happened at this time. I had pain in my eyes at this time. I was like, if I go blind, I'm suing his ass. Like, I was so mad.
Especially because you go from being a restaurant manager where you have to document like everything. Somebody slipped, somebody fell.
Like incident reports. So I know the protocol. And there's none of that.
But like
here.
ship life
there's
is like
none of that here. You're tough. Rub some dirt in it. Like, and I'm calling my mom like, "Mom, I'm gonna be flying. Like, I don't know what to do."
How long have you been out there at this point? Not very long,
I had
right?
been out there maybe like 3 weeks.
Okay.
Like 5 weeks. So finally, like, we got the boat in the water, and that was so cool.
Are you making friends by this point? Like, do you have any friends outside of your boat friends?
No.
Okay.
No, it was...
But like, how are you sleeping at night? Like, after you get done with the shift? Like, what time is your shift?
So we would go, I think we started at like 8, maybe earlier. But it was spring. It was really early spring in Maine. So it wasn't really like beautiful there. It was really hard to kind of like make friends. I was friendly with my crew, but I have nothing in common with them.
Yeah.
And so
kind of... Are they like born and raised fishermen?
No, just kind of like, again, it's a lot more common on the East Coast that like people know about this stuff, like boating culture, and like it's a huge community.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone here who does that.
Yeah.
And it was interesting when I actually lived in DC. There was this like captain that would come into my restaurant all the time, and he like knew some of the people. He was like docked in DC, but he knew all of the people up in Maine.
Gotcha.
So it was like cool that like, you know, I had that connection later. But basically we like put the boat in the water. We then got to like free sail it. Like actually operating, like sailing it to Camden, because we were in Portland, Maine, and then sailed it up a couple hours to Camden.
And is this like
the moment? This was the fucking moment that I was like, I got it. Because the guy that I was with, who had been like on a crew before of this huge boat before, he like he got seasick.
Oh, okay.
And I was just like, am I gonna get seasick? Am I? And I didn't. Okay. I didn't get seasick, and I was like, I'm a real sailor. I can do anything. Like, poor guy, he didn't get seasick after that. Like, he was fine.
Is it going fast?
Oh, it goes. It depends on the wind.
Okay.
I got really good at tracking like wind and tides, and like you really like learn all of that stuff, like the depth of the ocean, and
like when you're doing it.
Oh yeah, like okay. But again, it's like on the job learning for me. And a lot
so they just like
people,
get up there and climb that ladder and toss that sail out, like.
Well, they kind of had to train me on like, you know, the terms, and like how to fasten a line
and be like, this is the starboard side or whatever.
Well, honestly, like port and starboard. I feel like I wouldn't remember. I don't remember anything, but if I got on a boat, it would come back to me.
Yeah.
Like, because it just is so ingrained in your movements. There was a lot of rope formation you need to make so it's safe, like just in case the sail broke, then it would like go up without like causing any more damage. And like there was a lot of different just like day-to-day things. And lifting those sails, they were each like, I think the lightest one, it was like 2,000 pounds. So it's like you're like lifting a car. And there were some days, because we did day sails. Okay. So we served drinks. We were the only boat that like had a liquor license. So that was fun.
Oh, cool.
And that's how I kind of like, also I was like, I can make a good drink. I'd never been a bartender. I was like, I know how to drink. And so many people that go to Maine, it's like these wealthy like New England people that vacation there because it's so beautiful.
It really is.
Truly one of like, you came up and visited me.
I know.
You're the only person that came up and visited me.
Honestly though, Maine I think is probably one of my favorite states. Like after that trip, well, I do remember walking to I think Camden the day after we had met you, you know, and hung out. Yes. And I remember the ship being like massive. And I was like, oh my God, this is, yes. I thought it was like 90 feet at least. I mean, it was so big. And the sail, I mean, we got to insert a little picture here or something. Because, I mean.
Schooner Appledore Tours. Schooner Appledore 2. That's
2.
What it's called.
Okay. That's what the ship is called?
That's what the ship is called.
Okay.
And they do day tours in Camden and in Key West.
Oh, wow.
And so then after we sailed it down, my parents actually came and visited me, and they brought me like new clothes. I sent them back with stuff that I didn't end up
So what did you actually need to wear? Like what was your main day-to-day wear?
It was like comfortable, flexible pants and just, it's like a workout shirt or like a t-shirt and then layers. Like I had a really good jacket. I had beanies, reflective sunglasses.
Like sunglasses where you can see in the water.
Not,
You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm talking about?
No,
Like those
goggles?
fishing sunglasses.
No. No. Well, I did actually have to jump down. I forgot. I jumped down and we had to cut off. There was a lobster trap caught on the propeller.
Okay.
And so we had to jump down there and cut it off with our knives.
Like,
And the
while you're in the
water
water?
is freezing. And it was me and Andy. And we jumped down and we cut it off and we like came up. And so we did have like goggles and flashlights for that. But that was some crazy shit. And the only reason we did that is because we were like, when else are we going to get to do this?
Yeah. We're just here for the adventure. You know what I mean?
So actually that brings me to a good point because I didn't really feel very connected to any of the people on my boat. We were, again, very friendly, but I was having a hard time relating. And in Maine, there's nothing to do but smoke cigarettes and drink beer. Like, truly. Everything's closed early. Like,
sounds like Alabama.
That's all we were doing. It was great. And, like, but also it was just, like, my body felt it. I gained a lot of weight, but I also gained so much muscle. So I was, like, I was a big girl. I mean,
you can throw a 2,000-pound sail out
like,
there.
Buff. So then Andy joined the crew. And he joined, he was, like, kind of running the tickets. But he was living on the boat. So he came to the boat.
So what was your first impression of Andy when you met him?
Oh, I hated him.
Oh,
I
really?
didn't hate him.
Andy is her boyfriend, by the way.
Andy is my boyfriend now. But when I met him, I was like, look at this douchey little Boston boy. Because he shows up on the boat, his first day, in a Hawaiian shirt, little khaki shorts, and loafers. Like, oh, what is it called? No.
The little boat shoes. I know what you're talking
they're
about.
like the
They have
little leather
tassels.
ones.
Yeah.
I was like, what is, and I've been doing this for like 2 months and I'm like disgusting and I was like, who is this guy?
Like who are you trying to be?
Oh. And then we were lifting the sails and again, it's his first one. And so he's super tall and I'm not short by any means, but his hands were above mine and we were lifting and they're really heavy. And so we're like, heave, whatever, like pulling the sails. And he was like, it would help if you weren't so short. And I was like, I went to the captain immediately, causing problems. And I was like, the new guy's a little sassy. I don't really like that. Like, I was pissed. But then, like, literally, like, I couldn't have been more wrong because he came on the boat. He, like, cleaned it up. He hung lights. He got pictures. He went to the thrift store and, like, made the boat like a home.
Oh, wow.
And
for the guests.
No, for us. Because we lived on the boat.
Okay.
And the guests didn't really go under. They stayed on top. We had a bathroom that they could use. And, like, they would kind of see our the place that we lived.
Yeah.
But
so he, came in, cleaned it up, made it look nice.
And he just kind of, like, he was the first person that I felt like I met. And he's from Florida and Virginia. So, like, he's not a city boy by any means. But he was a Marine, so it's like he just had this way about him that was like, you know, everything's gonna be clean and like look good, and like he was like, it smells terrible in here, and he like bleached the whole shower and like cleaned it head to toe, and he was the first person that I felt like I could like really relate with.
And he put some respect on that. You know?
Yeah, like he was just had good values, and so we hit it off because I was like, oh, thank God, like. Somebody who doesn't know what he's doing. Because he came here with no idea.
And how did he get this job?
One of his Marine friends had done this job before.
Okay.
And Andy similarly was like, I need to change my life. And so got this job a little later than I did. But so then I like got to train him on like how to do the boat stuff, which helped me learn more. Which is so cool.
You're a little LA girl now teaching the boss.
It was the loafers that really...
Yeah, you're like, who is this motherfucker?
I was like, come on.
Yeah. But I at least went to REI, you know?
Which he ended up working at later.
Oh, cool.
So he's way more outdoorsy than I could ever dream to be. Because it comes naturally to him, he didn't have to worry about what he wore.
And he was a Marine, right?
Exactly.
So he's like...
this isn't hard. I'm like, damn, this is the hardest thing
You're
I've
like,
ever
I got
done.
callous hands, and it's
He's like,
fine.
let me clean for fun.
So he lived on the same boat as you.
Yes.
And you guys living on the boat that you're cruising during the day, or not
Yes.
yet? Okay.
So during the day, we take it out for trips. So if you weren't working that day, it sucked because your home and everything, like your bedroom where you relax, drives away, and you're like, shit. So we would like,
So you have to get up and get off the boat.
Yeah. And so I would like go and get a hammock and walk to a nearby park and like take a nap and like you really had to like occupy yourself during the day, which was hard for me. Like at first, I got a bike. I never rode it.
Okay.
It was a really nice electric bike.
Oh wow, where'd you even store it?
Like at the harbor, I like locked it up.
Okay.
Like it was, but I never rode it. And also, what was nice about the boat is because I was living there, I was making so much money because I didn't have any expenses.
Yeah.
We would get up every day and go get our lunch from like the nearby market or like get a lobster roll or whatever, and like, but we were just saving all this money, and a lot of it was cash.
Mm-hmm.
So I like opened up a bank account there. Like,
did you have any intention to stay in Maine? Like when you got?
It was an option.
Okay.
Like before I met Andy, I was considering like doing the transfer down to Key West and just like staying on the boat. I don't know. I also was considering like taking my money and like moving to New York. But then I met Andy, and like he very quickly, not quickly, I don't want to say quickly, but he quicker than me like had a crush on me. And I friend zoned him so hard because I was like, this is my one friend, like I can't ruin this. Like the day that we got together, I like friend zoned him, and I like sent him a song. I don't know if you know the song by Billy Joel, More Than a Woman, like about this girl who's like terrible.
Okay.
And I was like, this song reminds me of me.
Okay, yeah.
And he was like, what the fuck? Like, and then that night, like something just changed, and we like just got together. I don't know how delicately, how else I could put that. But
is this like part of the drinking culture, or is this just
No, we actually. So I went out to the bar, and then I came back to the boat, and I was like, you know what? Fuck it. And he did not go to the bar, and he was like, absolutely not. And he was like so respectful, and so I slept it off. And then in the middle of the night, I was like, hi, I'm sober. Want to try again?
That's so funny. He's basically like, nah, I'm
No, he was very like respectful about it, and that was very different from guys that I've been with in the past. So it was like, it was really nice. And then like we were together for 2 weeks and said, I love you.
Oh wow.
And then he was finishing school in Virginia, and I didn't really have much to go back to in LA. So we were kind of talking about the future, and he was like, well, I have to go back to Virginia. And I was like, well, I guess I'm moving. We drove from Maine to Virginia in November, and had like everything that could go wrong went wrong. And then we flew to California. He met my family, and I was like, bye. I picked up my stuff, and like we drove back to Virginia in a new car.
Wow.
And then started a life. And we had enough money from the boat to like sustain a couple of months.
Yeah.
And I got a great restaurant job as a manager.
In Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I worked in DC, but I lived in Virginia.
Gotcha.
I came back here because I wanted to be close to my family, because again, we're super, super close. And he was like, got his degree, moved back over here with no idea of what he was going to do, got a great job. And then I didn't get it. I didn't have a job. So I went back to the one thing I did know, which was like hospitality.
Yeah.
And so I started working as a server, and this was just like like a year ago. And I was like, well, like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I know I don't want to do restaurants forever, but I'm going to figure it out. I was applying, and for months couldn't find anything, but I'm doing the serving job. And then I served the CEO of my company.
Oh, wow.
Now. And
those little Rose Court pageant skills.
And he had connections with the Rose Parade, and I did too. So we started talking about that, and he offered me a job.
Wow.
And so
just like that.
So many of these things, like, again, I like really try not to worry too much about like the trajectory of where my life is going to go, because I'm so privileged to know, like, I'm lucky. Like, I will attract what needs to be attracted to me. And it has worked out, and I'm very grateful, like, to be living in my hometown with, you know, the love of my life and 2 cats, and like have a job that I really love. And I wouldn't have been able to do it without any of those things that happened. So I always like try to just look at things of like, what will I regret the least?
Yeah.
And I do it. And I would have absolutely regretted not going to Maine.
I know, Maine. I mean, I feel like that changed your whole life.
Oh, it changed. I mean, you knew me before and after.
I know, that was crazy.
I'm very happy with the person that I've like grown into.
Yeah.
So.
And now you can do literally whatever.
And I think about that all the time. Like anytime something feels hard here, I'm like, I have done so many harder things, and it kind of gives you a little bit of perspective. And now it empowers me to, you know, take on a lot more of those challenges, because I know, or even in trying to get a new job, I'm like, I leave that on my resume, because I'm like, that job proved to me that I can learn anything.
Yeah.
I knew nothing about boats, and I was able to climb up to like basically the first mate position, but I mean, it was just by default because everyone had left the boat. I was left. And I was really bossy, so they listened to me. But by boat knowledge, I could have learned more. And I do think about going back to it all the time.
Yeah.
But it's a commitment.
What was your favorite part about that job?
Seeing like the sunset sails. Like I have so many pictures of just how beautiful the surroundings were. It was unreal. Yeah. I like understand why so many people like drew inspiration from there, because it was just, it's stunning. And for me, it was like, I was there and I was like, there has to be a God. Like there has to be something, because I feel so small right now. I'm in the middle of the fucking ocean, and like, look at all of this around me. Yeah. And there were so many things that happened on the boat that it's like, oh, this could be a life or death situation. Like our engine broke down a couple times.
Oh,
like,
wow.
Diving underwater to cut off the ropes and the propellers. And then like, every once in a while, you just check in with yourself and you're like,
this is living.
I, like, who am I? Like, who does this? But it's also like, I look at people do stuff like this, and I'm always so jealous of like, oh, I want to do something like that. Yeah. But it's like, you can. You just have to do it. Yeah. You have to say yes. If you like devote enough of energy towards something, you'll get it.
I feel like even when we went to Maine to go see you, I've never been to Maine. We went to Portland, where we stayed in a hostel, because we, you know, we're riding dirt cheap in this.
I look at that and I'm like, you're like a little backpacker.
Yeah, which who knew America had hostels? But no, they do. And literally, I think we paid like, I don't know, $30 to stay in like a bunk bed with 9 other people in the same room, you know? But it was very like small town and just like rough. And you're like on the Atlantic Ocean, and like that's where the sun kisses America in the morning. Just like kind of reminded me of Oregon a little bit in terms of like the air feeling like clean and like so big.
It's just also,
and it's just old.
Something interesting is I don't think it's legal to have billboards in Maine. So you don't really see a lot of like commercialism. Everything's kind of the small shop. And it feels like, again, coming from LA, you're like very well traveled. And I want to be that. Like, you know this country. You've been to other countries, right? Yeah. So it's like, I'm so envious of that, because that's such a gift to be able to understand that like there's so much more outside of your own reality. Yeah. And it really just kind of knocked down anything that I thought any other state was like. Yeah. Because I thought, why wouldn't everybody think about like what filter to use on their story? And it's like, in Maine you don't need one. Like, no, yeah. It's
Did you wear makeup every day after a while?
I went in and out of phases, but I did. And then funnily enough, when I got with Andy, I didn't wear as much makeup, because he really much and like encouraged me to like not lean into that. Yeah. And I do it because I like to, for the most part. And to me, I was working for tips. Yeah. I was gonna look good. I was like, I can be buff and thick, but I'm gonna look cute.
Yeah. No, for sure. I'm gonna be the cutest sailor there is.
And I totally played off that. Like, there was a point where you'd have to like furl the sails, and so basically it's like you fold it while it's coming down. So I'd like stand up on the it's not the mast, something. See, it like goes out of my brain. But I'd stand up on it and I'd like do a little bow. I'd like tap dance on the boat, and like I would entertain people because it did, like, they would tip you afterwards. And I would make really strong drinks and they would tip you after. So I got to kind of eventually bring in things that like I had used in my life to make it, like, to apply it to this new position. And so I found my footing, and I found a way to be authentic in myself and not take on a new role of like, I'm this gruff, buff boat person.
Yeah.
Like
you got to be authentically.
I got to bring Mackenzie, and I got to figure out who that was.
Yeah.
While I was there.
Yeah.
So, and the journey like just keeps going on and like figuring out, you know, who you want to be. I always think like if somebody was writing a character description about me, if there was a TV show about me, I'm very humble. Like, what would my character description be? So that was one of the things that like lent to me getting sober. That's one of the things that have like lent to me like making new decisions, because it's like, okay, my character is really adventurous, really you know,
brave,
fun, brave, like caring, and it's like you want to take out the qualities that maybe you don't like. Like, oh, she's really judgmental. I don't really like that. I don't want that in the character description. Yeah. So it's like I changed that out. It's like, oh, she's an adventurer. Like, she was a sailor.
Yeah. And we forget how much, like, freedom we have to do different things. God. You know, because we're like, I mean, I remember when I lived in Alabama, I thought, okay, I can only be a lawyer, a police officer, or a nurse. Like, I literally, that was, like, my scope. And then I went to college, and a girl in my history class, one day she had her little Disney badge on. And I was like, oh my God, Disney? Like, what do you know about Disney? And she was like, oh, I work there. And I was like, you can work at Disney? You know, like, I didn't know. I mean, obviously I'd been to Disney World, but I didn't realize that people that weren't from Orlando worked there. Like, people moved. You know, my whole family has lived on the same street their whole life.
I feel like even more so than what I did, because mine was somewhat temporary moving to Maine. You just, like, moved to LA.
I mean, yeah, but by that...
That's hard,
yeah,
Elisa.
But here was my thought, as I was like, I was born in Alabama, I was raised in Alabama, and I was educated in Alabama. If I'm not careful, I'm going to die here.
Oh my God.
So literally was like, but I've always been adventurous, and like, you know, the Goonies always inspired me. And so, like, I got like a similar thread to you where, you know, I'd had a job in Florida for Disney, and then I got an interview one day, and the area code said like 310, and I was like, 310? And I saw the interview time was in PST, and I literally Googled, I'm like, PST, what does that mean? And it says Pacific Standard Time in Glendale, California, and I'm like, where is Glendale? I'm like, is that Arizona? Like, I literally know nothing.
That's crazy.
So I Googled Glendale, and I'm like, oh my God, that's right next to LA. Like, how fun would it be to live next to LA? Thinking it wasn't in LA, you know?
Oh, it's like pretty close.
It's LA, you know what I mean? And so you know, again, it was like tiny little moments where you kind of just like follow that thread. People did think I was absolutely crazy when I moved out here.
Yeah, how did your family respond?
Every time I've like given my dad a heads up about what I'm doing in my life, his first response is no. You know, he's always like, I told him I was moving to Florida at 18 to be a character at Disney World. He was like, no. I was like, but Dad, I really need $300 because like that's like the deposit for you to live in the dorm, and I don't have $300. But I think they all thought it was a stint. Like I was only going to be there for 6 months because, you know, I only had a job for 6 months. 9 years.
Holy shit.
I know. So
that's crazy.
But I do, you know, again, that's why I want to talk to you, because I do feel like people don't realize that they have the power to pick what they want.
And
you know?
It's also
like you could change at any point in time. You could go to Texas tomorrow and be a rancher.
Oh, absolutely. And there's so much space for it too. I think people think, oh, I would never get that opportunity because of X, Y, and Z. But like, again, this guy was basically trying to talk me out of getting the job. And I was like, I'm going to book my ticket. Like, I'm going to be there. So figure it out. Like,
I land on Tuesday.
yeah. And he's like, okay, I guess I have this girl working for me.
Yeah.
Just people around are very patient and understanding and extend the patience that they wish they had received. So it's important to remember that when, you know, if somebody's asking you questions or wants tips, it's like, really, whatever works for you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can find people to be patient with that and like make it work for you, that's like, it's such a gift.
Yeah.
Because I'm only in this space because people were willing to give me a chance, and there's so many chances. And like, even just like being a server, as long as you're like authentic to yourself and believe that like the world has good things for you, it'll come. It will come to you, and the right thing will land in your lap. But I think the important thing is to be able to say yes.
Yeah.
Because it's so much easier to say no
so
and stay
easy.
comfortable.
Mm-hmm. When you were there, did you miss your family? Like, was it hard to get on social media and be like, oh, everybody back in my hometown is like still
wasn't
hanging?
on my phone much at all. I don't know why. I think I was on Instagram a little bit. I would chat with my family here and there, but once I got into the boat culture, I'd hang out a lot with my crew. I mean, drinking beer and smoking cigarettes, and like that's what we did. And then we woke up and sailed, and did it again.
Pirate. I love it.
It was very like nothing really mattered. You didn't really have responsibilities. I think that's what was appealing about like blue collar work.
Yeah.
It's like you show up, you work, you put a good day of work in, you play hard.
Yeah.
It was really fun, and I don't think it was a sustainable lifestyle for me by any means, but I'm really lucky that I then got to meet somebody who continued to change my life.
Mm-hmm.
Like I got to continue to live that adventure with somebody who also knew me in that like really unique space.
Yeah, because it's very intimate.
I mean, you saw me there. I was like, I remember you coming to visit, and it felt so
weird to have the duality.
To be like, oh, somebody that I was just wearing 4-inch heels and tight black dresses with is like seeing me in like overalls and like muddy boots.
To me, I wasn't even fazed by that because I was, I think growing up in Alabama, I only saw blue collar. You know,
sure. So you have more of like
and
a paradigm.
I mean, my whole family is,
but
dump
it was
truck
also
drivers.
Like, you've also been such a sweet friend for me in that respect. Like you embrace everyone as they are, and like you're so supportive. And I've said it a couple times, but for the sake of the podcast, you're one of my longest friends.
Mm-hmm.
And like the fact that we've known each other 7 years,
I think so.
Because 2018, 10 years.
It's 2025. So yeah, 7.
No, I don't do math.
Me neither.
Sailors don't do math. You've been so consistent, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, well, again, I could say the same thing about you because you're just constantly inspiring me. Because I really do think another thing that I think is very important to highlight is that I often tell people, like when I can tell they want to leave Alabama or Tennessee, or I can tell they want to leave, and they're so close to, but for some reason they think making a change means a lifelong change. And I'm like, no, bitch, you can always go back home. You literally,
it'll be there.
Yeah, like you go away for 4 months. Exactly. And you came back.
And I had a hard time when I was living in Virginia finding my footing again, because that was more permanent of like, oh, I'm living somewhere that I don't know. And then I figured it out. And then when I asked my partner to say, hey, I really want to move back and be with my family and live in LA for a couple of years, he was down to do it.
Yeah.
And so I came back home. And it's like...
But it's nice that you can go do that and then still come back.
Absolutely. And I'm now living here in such a different way than I was last time I lived here. And I'm so grateful because like I said, in 2020, I was like, I need to change. I need to change my life.
Yeah.
And I did. And I came back and I get to enjoy LA. And then when I'm ready for the next adventure, I'll do that.
I know. I'm excited to see what it will be. To wrap this up, do you have any tips for someone that may be scared to try new things?
My biggest tip would be like what you're gonna do and what you're doing is right for you, and you need to trust that. And so like if there's a big feeling that like you feel like you need to get out and do something, just do it. Like trust yourself, trust your instincts, and trust that it's all gonna be okay. And try to get some perspective of like, what do you want your character, what do you want your TV show to be? Like, what do you want? And like, think of the craziest thing, do it. Like, because money will always come.
Yeah.
But like, your story is written by you. So, I mean, I don't think I did it perfectly, and I don't think you could even like, I wouldn't go tell everyone, hey, go get a boat job, like be a sailor. Like, it's not for everyone, but it was like the right step for me. So it's like, just trust that. Trust yourself. Like, go with the flow and like, fuck it.
Yeah.
Like, truly. Because what's the worst that's going to happen? You fail. Like, it makes for a really good season on your TV show.
Exactly. Yes. I love that.
Those are the good seasons.
Yeah. It's all about the memories.
And it's all, like, everything always works out.
Yeah.
There's as many lows as there are highs. So it's like,
just
be
fucking
nice
do
to
it.
yourself. Just fucking do it. Just
You got this, bitch.
You got it.
Just get out there.
And it doesn't matter. Like, looks, money, all of it will change.
Yeah. Well, and I heard something the other day that says, like, the biggest flex is being obsessed with your life. All right. Now it's time for our Oracle cards. So Mackenzie's going to pull 2 for us. You can just shuffle however you feel called.
I don't know the official way of shuffling this, but I'm just going to trust that something good is going to come out.
Always trusting.
And I'm a little nervous, but these are all good.
Yeah, Oracle cards are good.
Okay. I'm going to say that that's shuffled. Okay. I'm going to do this guy. And let's do this.
Perfect. So I always say the first one is like a whisper from the universe, and the second one is like your action card. So the first card you got is lifting the veil.
Ooh.
I know, isn't that so beautiful? Look at that.
I know. I like the
It says,
creative.
questioning everything. Anything unaligned must go. But you're literally just talking about.
Let me tell you.
Of like writing her character description.
Universe. Yes.
And just being, again, like, I think sometimes it's like exhausting because you're like, oh my God, I'm so tired of questioning my life because I want to like know. But
But there's something really comforting about like embracing this. It's hard. It's really hard to let go of things that you're comfortable with.
Yeah, and we were talking about like finding new friends.
Yes.
Finding friends that are aligned, especially like after doing Dry January,
Oh.
Okay, the second card, I don't know how to say this. Heareth, longing for home, homesick for the stars. This yearning can lead for some people to travel, searching all corners of the planet to find a physical place that feels like home. For others, it can manifest as a need to find home in people, community, and relationships. A journey to find somewhere we truly belong. You're being invited to remember that your soul chose to be on earth. You're being called to fully commit to embodying your life. You're being reassured that you didn't come here alone and that your soul consciously decided to experience what it's like to be a soul in a human body on this planet at this time.
Wait, I love that.
I know. You're being called to anchor all of your presence, your personality, your soul, and your spirit here and the here and now, to fully commit to living, to commit to putting 2 feet completely in. So how can you commit more to fully living your life?
Oh, for me, that like really ties them together though, because for the state that I'm in right now, it is very much looking for, where are you like planning your roots? How do I be at peace with being content? Because I think coming from a lot of like highly dramatic scenarios, you can feel addicted to that. And when you don't have that drama,
don't have the chaos that
you
you're
don't have
used
the chaos,
to.
And it's like you feel like I almost feel like something's wrong. So I really am like yearning to cut out those toxic things, to cut out or to choose more intentionally what I want my life to be.
How you can find harmony.
Find my roots.
Yeah.
To find what feels like home. Like that really is, because I don't know that we'll be in LA forever.
Yeah.
And I don't know where we would go. But I'm also just kind of trusting that the right thing, the right place will come along at the right time.
Yeah, I love these two for
That's
you.
a good little
I
thing.
know. How fun. If somebody wants to reach out to Mackenzie with sailor questions or just like what it's like to be a badass.
I can't promise that I'll have good answers.
Yeah, but how can they find you?
Instagram, Ken's B.
Okay.
That is probably going to be the easiest way.
Cool. All right, well, I love you so much.
Out. Thank you for having me on your podcast. Thank you for watching.
See you next week. Thank you so much for watching. Comment below and let me know if you would move from California to Maine or you would move like 3,000 miles away from home. Because if you wanted to, you could. Anyway, thank you so much for your support. I appreciate it always. Like, comment, subscribe, support your girl who's out here doing new scary things. Bye.